The New York Times finally getting around to covering the Biden border disaster with a lengthy piece on how Sleepy Joe ignored warnings and lost Americans' faith in immigration. Quote, the Democratic president and his top advisors rejected recommendations that could have eased the border crisis that helped return Donald Trump to the White House. Chaos was the word advisors had used in a memo during the campaign. Meanwhile, less than a month until Zoran the Destroyer gets sworn in as New York City mayor. And he's dishing out advice on how to thwart ICE.
As mayor, I'll protect the rights of every single New Yorker, and that includes the more than 3 million immigrants who call this city their home. But we can all stand up to ICE if you know your rights.
ICE is legally allowed to lie to you, but you have the right to remain silent.
New York will always welcome immigrants, and I will fight each and every day to protect, support, and celebrate our immigrant brothers and sisters.
Comrade Z isn't the only icebreaker. A newly elected Democrat congresswoman from Arizona is going Karen on ICE agents. Filmed herself on Friday yelling at ICE agents and getting in their way. All right, Kaylee, what do you think's going on here?
I think the left has learned no lessons. Stand up to ICE is not the message you have 10 months, 11 months, 12 months, a year out from losing the presidential election in royal fashion, losing every single swing state, giving Donald Trump the first time winning the popular vote for Republican nominee in 20 years. The message is not double down and stand up to ICE. The message is reverse course. And I love that there's now coverage of Biden just totally ignoring that he had the power to fix this, and he did. And I screamed from the rooftops during the Biden era. He kept saying, Congress should act, Congress should act. And I said, you have 212F authority under the Immigration and Nationality Act to act. It essentially gives you carte blanche as a president to stop immigration where necessary and in whatever fashion you see fit. He didn't use it. And now we're getting headlines like here in New York, 6,947 illegal immigrants were released from jails out into the streets, connected to 29 homicides, just released out into the streets. And then you look and the headline that hasn't gotten much coverage but is deserving of it, 62,000 illegal immigrants, children that were put in sex trafficking and child labor, were rescued by President Donald J. Trump. There is a human consequence when you allow unfettered immigration. It is little children, little babies who are put in atrocious situations. Donald Trump has reversed this, and Zoran Mamdani is going to double down. ICE is the enemy. ICE. Good luck. I think it's going to be a disaster come a few months from now.
Why did it take so long, Harold, for the New York Times to report on the Biden White House immigration situation?
I'm with you, Jesse. I don't know why it took so long. It's obvious from the reporting. Even before the reporting, around this table, we recognize how severe and how serious a problem this was for the country and politically for President Biden. It's hard to imagine a country, we're such a kind and compassionate country. No country's brought in or accepted or welcomed more immigrants, foreign immigrants than we have. Yet we can't take everyone for a variety of reasons. One being we're probably let in too many violent people over the many years, and for that matter, not just the last 4, but even prior to that. I think as we think about where we are now, I give President Trump all of the credit in his efforts to lock down our border. What he's faced with now is a challenge, and we're seeing it across the country. And I don't agree with what Mayor-elect Mamdani's approach. I would seem to me, right after you're elected on the platform of affordability, that the thing you would be doing would be trying to figure out ways to make life more affordable, housing, groceries, and other things here in the city, particularly housing, and for that matter, health care. I'd be focused a little bit more on that. But what President Trump, I think, is dealing with and Congress is dealing with is something we talked about also, the hierarchy of deportations, the hierarchy of actions. You look at, I think if you polled anybody in the country, I'd be a part of that 80 to 90% saying the president's right to lock down the border, and he's even more than right, if not 100% of us saying, send back the criminals, send back the violent people, find ways. I think there's some dispute over whether we should be sending them back to countries they're not from. But you get violent people out of here, I don't care where you send them to. The challenge now is what are we doing with people whom have been here for a period of time, who are working, who are raising families? And I think that's where the debate and dispute is, and hopefully Congress will enter that conversation. But you asked a basic question. I don't know what took the New York Times so long to do this. I applaud them for doing it, but I think maybe if some of this had come out earlier, the outcome of the election would have probably been the same, to Kaylee's point, but it might have forced or catalyzed some legislative action from Democrats and Republicans alike into Congress prior to the election.
Dana P.
Well, I do not applaud them for writing it 5 years late. In fact, I would like to join a class action refund lawsuit as a subscriber because if it's all the news that's fit to print, and they didn't see fit to print it until later, and now the way they print it is, it's almost worse. So they write a memo to Biden during the transition, during the campaign. It's like, well, you know, if we do this, this could really cause a problem. And now those very people who ignored the memo, including Biden, are now having this little butt covering exercise in the New York Times saying, well, gosh, you know what? That really was bad, wasn't it? But they're saying that Biden was the responsible one. Well, so did he ignore the memo or did he want this? And I think that if you say that he wasn't really controlling things, that the people that worked for him, that were operating him like a transformer, they did want the chaos. And now we are paying the price for it. And the biggest price is being paid by people who are trying to do it legally, to get into this country legally. Everybody that was in line for their path to citizenship, that had done all the right things, well, guess what? Now you have the result in this New York Times story is that you have people in America, American citizens, declining their support for people who are doing the process legally in terms of getting more immigrants into this country. Now that push is even worse. So you have legislators like Dick Durbin now, he just introduces the DREAM Act again, and you think, well, what Republican's going to come forward and want to do that with you when you were complicit in the chaos theory of the Biden administration? So I think the New York Times really should refund me for the past 5 years.
It's an expensive subscription.
It is.
Tyrus.
The slow clap.
You get the slow clap. Hindsight's 20/20, but I guess bullshit is year long. Like, this is, wow. You're reporting that it's a problem now. Do you realize if they actually did their job as journalists, ICE wouldn't have to be doing what it's doing right now? Right. So in cause and effect, you don't like ICE, thank yourself, media, because you didn't report anything. New York Times, it's laughable that you're saying the border is a problem now. No kidding. Ask every American that lost a loved one or has had to deal with something that's going on. You could have been a part of the solution. You could be right now writing letters and accepting Pulitzer Prizes for amazing journalists on what's going on at the border and helping families be safe, but you chose not to do that. You chose to be the opposition. Now you don't get to walk in the room and be like, hey guys, what's up? Heard about that border, huh? No, get out. You're not part of the process. No one should believe anything that comes out of the New York Times, the writers, the editors that put that stuff out, because they are full of bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they for years said that securing the border was racist.
Yeah.
So we do want our subscription money back.
Yes, please.
For those of us who subscribe. I do subscribe. I actually.
I do not.
Don't.
I do.
Wow,
I
Tyrus
do
and
not.
I do. I
Me
do.
too.
I think I make Fox pay for it, but I'm not sure.
I wouldn't have
Johnny will check it
disclosed
out.
that.
Yeah, well, now.
No, I
Johnny's on
pay
it.
for it. I pay for it. Johnny,
I'd
do I
like to
pay
have
for
a
it?
word.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.